which is impossible. You can't do that. But with video, you can. So we created this Televerde virtual roundtable, which exists on our website. And you can go there and you could just, there's about 12 or 15 stories on there, and you could just kind of click on any one of them and just listen to the women's stories about how their lives have changed because of this second chance opportunity.
Welcome to Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast.
All right, welcome into Future Fuzz, the digital marketing podcast. I'm Vince Quinn, and today we're talking about putting your identity forward, or should I say, truly being about it. And joining us for that conversation is Kellie Walenciak. She is the head of corporate communications at Televerde. Kellie, welcome to Future Fuzz.
Thanks so much, Vince. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. And so since we're talking about like really being about it, I mean, first off, just give people the background of what Televerde is and really what your workforce is. It's such a fun story.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting story. So, Televerde is a global revenue creation partner that specializes in marketing, sales, and customer success for B2B companies. So in the simplest terms, we deliver end-to-end solutions from demand generation and lead qualification to customer retention. And we've been doing this since 1994. And we've been doing it through a blended workforce of incarcerated and non-incarcerated business professionals that have been trained to the highest standards. So our company was founded in 1994, and I always like to juxtapose it with the mood of our country at that time, which was the same year the Tough on Crime bill was passed, which is largely responsible, seen now as driving up mass incarceration. And there were two guys, one of whom became our first CEO, who thought that we could do things differently. And he thought that they thought people deserved a second chance. And they started to build this company in a little Arizona women's prison with just a white trailer, a couple of IBM computers, a couple of phones, and some women who were interested in the opportunity that would allow them to change their lives. And that's how we started. And over the next 30-something years, it's grown to a 650-person workforce of both incarcerated and non-incarcerated staff. We have offices in 5 different prison facilities in the United States, and then a corporate headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, as well as offices in Cordoba, Argentina, and Glasgow, Scotland. So we're an international firm. So it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah. And just to clarify further, I mean, when you say offices in different facilities, right? Like what does that actually entail? What does that mean?
Right. Well, on the inside, there are contact centers that are inside prison facilities. So we have our largest center is in an Arizona Correctional Facility for women out in Goodyear, Arizona. And then we're in 3 state-run facilities in Indiana. So essentially, you go through the prison gates. A van in Arizona will take you out to our contact center. And when you walk in, it looks like any other contact center that you've ever been in. There are rows of cubicles and women with headsets on and talking to clients at all different companies around the globe. And the only difference is in what they're wearing. They're wearing a prison uniform, a prison issued uniform. But it's quite extraordinary. And I think what you get with that workforce is, a grit and a resilience. I've been in corporate America a long time, over 30 years. I've worked for big companies, Prudential, Avaya. I started out in the FDIC, PSEG, if you're on the East Coast. So really big companies. And I could tell you, I've never seen the desire to learn as I've seen it here. And just a quick story. Many years ago, I took my daughter to see Professor Cornel West, who was speaking. So you know him from academia. He's professor at Harvard and actually ran for president a few years ago. And I remember him talking about the difference between cheap schooling and deep learning as he talked about going to university, and how a lot of kids are going just to kind of check that box and walk out with a degree. And what he said really resonated with me, but more so now that I work with this workforce, because I think that's what these women are there for. They're there for this deep learning. They want to learn as much as they can, as quickly as they can, because they see it as this opportunity to change their life while they're incarcerated and then also continue that upward trajectory on their way out. So, and the proof is in the results, because as I said, we've been able to grow with this model and really help. I think we're over 4,700 women have been through our prison to workforce program, and we have a recidivism rate of about 5%. So that's extraordinarily low. And recidivism, for anybody who doesn't know, that's just like a reconviction. Once you're released from prison, you go back into prison.
Yeah. I mean, so it's truly incredible in the sense that, yeah, you are providing this opportunity, all this education, hands-on experience. And then from there, I mean, the way this all can grow and evolve, like just for example, for somebody who's entered into that system, what are some of the success stories on an individual level, places people have gone, the roles they've ascended to, you know what I mean? Like what has that progression looked like for some of the women who have been a part of this?
Yeah, it is remarkable. So the real benefit of starting your career on the inside with us, is being able to learn skills, but then also put them into practice, right? So our women are working with a lot of all of our clients, right? So SAP and Broadcom and Adobe. So they're working with these big name companies. On average, the tenure is 4 to 5 years, which again, that's another anomaly when you're talking about retention in a contact center. You pretty much go, turning over very easily. So these women actually become extensions of whatever client they're working with, their sales and marketing team. So they're building their professional networks while they're in there as well. A lot of our clients want to hire the women when they are released. They hire them direct. So SAP probably has upwards of about 40 of our women who started with them while they were incarcerated and then continue to grow in their company once they're released. And then we've had people at Salesforce go on, in prison, they become Salesforce administrators. So talk about like really the trailblazing. They have a little trailblazer community on the inside, and they go out and into all different roles. So even within our own organization, about 40% of our C-suite started their careers with us on the inside. And we're seeing more and more companies are becoming open to hiring men and women who have criminal pasts, and being willing to look past that and seeing it as, people can be so much more than the worst decision they made on the worst day of their lives. And so when we hire the women when they're incarcerated, most of the women start on the phone in an inside sales demand SDR, BDR role, and then they can grow. So I've had women on my own team in marketing. One woman who became a web developer, another woman who left marketing generalist, my head of demand generation. And what's really extraordinary is when they get the jobs with us and you're able to kind of stay in touch and see the growth, but also when they leave our company. And my last head of demand generation, she's actually a small business owner now in Phoenix. She bought her own dry cleaners. And that's within 18 months of being released. So, it's quite extraordinary. And I had dinner with her the last time I was in Phoenix, and she said, everything I learned at Televerde, I'm learning to grow my own business. So she's using all those hard and soft marketing skills, that helped her, that helped us grow to help her own company grow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's such an interesting position then, right? To have this kind of role where you get to represent this company and get the word out. Like, because and part of the reason why I was so excited to have you on is like, it is so forward, right? Like it's very much a full ownership of what the whole company is about, what your mission statement is, how you present all of that. And when you see these people that get it, they get it, right? So like, what has it been like for you to be in this position to create in this way, to present in this way? Like how have people responded as you've had to lean into this message and show them what you're about?
I think it's been overwhelmingly positive. So you kind of have this spectrum, which we even see in political sphere, right? You have, a far left and a far right. And we kind of meet people, the people who want to do business with us, they're generally in the middle. They're curious about our model, want to make sure we're on the up and up, because there are always, there's a stigma attached to any for-profit company using prison labor, and for good reason. there's been exploitation. So you have people who are kind of curious about us, but then they come out and they see what we're about, and they meet with the women, and they meet with graduates, and they read the stories of what the women have gone on to do, and they see that this is an extraordinary company that is quite capable of delivering a return on investment, which every company is going to expect our company to turn, but also this really attractive and meaningful return on purpose. And they too are, they too feel rewarded personally, because they get to know our women, they get to support our women. I mean, we had the company is no longer in business, but Pulse Secure, actually, he's now the CEO of Solar Winds. He used to come out once a quarter and do a book club with our women. So that is like the emotional connection that we find that all of our clients and partners develop with the women. And, it is because they're great at delivering the business results. But I think it's also it's awakening for all of us personally, because what you learn through this is that the narrative we've been told through media and Hollywood and books and everything is that prison is a place where people who are irredeemable are, and they don't want to work, and they want handouts, not hands up. And when you get out there and you meet with this woman, you see like, wow, she could be my daughter, she could be my wife, she could be my sister. So it's, I think anyone that has ever been out there would describe the experience as life-changing. And really wanting to take you end up having a personal stake beyond the professional stake, which is incredibly powerful. You don't get to have that in business very often.
Future Fuzz is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
Yeah, no, it's such an incredibly rare and exceptional thing, and I think part of that has to go to the presentation of it, right? Like for being able to represent this and communicate it to people, you have to do that in like a very artful and intentional way. So just to like dig into your mind a little bit, I mean, how have you gotten the word out? What are the kinds of ways that you tell these stories to people?
As I said, the company started at a very interesting time in the country. So for many years, they didn't lead with the model. They didn't hide it. If someone was interested in doing business with us, they came out to meet with the then CEO and go out to the prison and meet with the women. But we didn't lead with it. And there was a fear that, the fear wasn't about for-profit exploitation at that time. It was more about the stigma of incarceration, that somehow people thought these women were less than, or that they weren't worthy of opportunity. So they kind of kept it on the DL, right? And it was probably now about 8 years ago, they took this leap to have do the first ever TEDx in a prison facility in Arizona. And that was the first time, I think, people externally through social media and press really kind of got a peek inside our company and like, wow, okay, this company is doing something interesting. And then we had a change in leadership, and the second CEO was a career marketer who really saw our business model, which is the women, as a competitive advantage. And she said, we need to kind of get this out there. And I joined with her, and that's what I was tasked to do, is really to take these women's stories and to share them, to start educating people, not only for us to get more clients and to help grow, because when we do that, we can help more women, but also to try to change the stigma that surrounded the prison community, and to show how extraordinary men and women with criminal backgrounds could be. And, we did that a lot through, personal stories, and our graduates, so many of them being willing to, kind of go public with their worst mistake, which is very hard to do. I always said, like, I don't know that I would want to staple my worst mistake to every resume. I mean, who would? You make a mistake, you learn, you move on. So, but I think they all understand there's weight to what we're doing. And there's this kind of pay it forward spirit where if I share my story, maybe it opens more doors for the women and the young girls who will end up where I was and kind of come through that cycle. So, Yeah, and most of the time through the women's own story, as I mentioned before about visiting the centers life-changing, when people do go out to the centers, they meet with the women in a roundtable. And each of the women go around and they kind of talk about their journey before prison, what it was like coming to prison, the Televerde story, and what they believe their future looks like now. And there was this moment where we kind of thought like, wow, how extraordinary would it be if we could bring the whole world into the prison and meet with these women, which is impossible. You can't do that. But with video, you can. So we created this Televerde virtual roundtable, which exists on our website. And you can go there and there's about 12 or 15 stories on there. And you could just kind of click on any one of them and just listen to the women's stories about how their lives have changed because of this second chance opportunity. And as I said, I think it's powerful to see who you're working with when you're partnering with us or when you're considering partnering with us. But I also think it's good for just any business to see, hey, this is talent we've been overlooking. And we can create more opportunities and expand our workforce to include men and women who are like the women that we work with at Televerde. We do have one on our website too, just by the way. I mean, we work with women, but there is a gentleman who works with us, and he was actually incarcerated for 25 years in a men's prison facility in Arizona. So while he didn't go through our program because we're only in the women's prison facilities, we did hire him, and he's been with us since I think 2020. So his journey is quite unique and very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is powerful in the sense of, I mean, most companies have some sort of value statement, right? So to be able to have that, but it's also activism in a real way. Like there's this social value that goes into what you do that transcends the business aspect. And it's such a fascinating thing to see that all intersect in this way. Like what an interesting, fascinating, innovative place to be. And so like thinking about that, and part of what's cool and really proving all of this out is that there's a Televerde Foundation. Like when does it get to the point where there is a foundation, and how has that really elevated the entire ecosystem, if you will?
One thing that I really was impressed by Televerde before I joined is it seemed like a company that was always checking itself. Like, are we doing everything we can for the women? And they recognize that, a job and a professional network and business skills, it's only half of what a woman needs. A woman needs more. So I always say that we launched the foundation to kind of pick up where the business leaves off. So if the business is focused on the job skills, as I said, the hard and soft skills and the business acumen and all that good stuff, and then supporting women as they build a career, the foundation comes in about 6 months before they reenter with life skills training and personal and professional development and career readiness, and helping them address the issues that led them to prison, and also focus on integration, because re-entering society and going back to your families and your children and your friends and your communities, it's overwhelming. It really is. It's overwhelming. So when they get out of prison, they are assigned a transitional mentor, a woman who's walked in that same exact path and can be with them. And then also a professional mentor that stays with them as they continue to build their career. And then there's also job placement, because we recognize we can't hire everyone as they get out of prison, and our clients can't hire everyone either. So having a foundation that can actually work with them and make sure that they're placed in jobs within, a couple months upon reentering. So that's been extraordinarily helpful and really makes this like a holistic program. And what's even more incredible about it is the woman who leads it. Her name is Michelle Sirocco, and she is a graduate of the Televerde program. So she was serving a 7-year sentence back in the late 90s, and she started working for us, and she became our chief impact officer. And then a few years ago was asked to lead the Televerde Foundation. So who better than her? She knows intimately what a woman needs as she, enters into that journey of reentering society. So that's been extraordinary too. So, it's an incredible program. It really is. It's an incredible program. But, I think at the end of the day, just from a business perspective, the model proves that like purpose and performance, they're not mutually exclusive. So, these women, they're delivering enterprise results. We have low turnover, higher engagement, and an unmatched customer commitment. So it's a win-win for anyone who's partnering with us.
Yeah. And so for people who want to learn more about Televerde, connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, absolutely. They can connect with me. I can connect them also, depending on their interest, with my colleague, Alicia Rasta, also a graduate of the program, who is now leading our global sales organization. If you're interested just in kind of like the DEI aspect or the impact, I can connect with Michelle Sirocco. So yeah, I'm the best starting point, I think.
Okay. And what's the best way to get in touch with you then?
Well, on LinkedIn is probably easiest because my last name is Walenciak, and I can spell it for you, but it's not as easy as my maiden name was.
Yeah. It's in the title. It's in the show notes.
Okay,
So yeah, we've got all that.
Yeah, Kellie.Walenciak@televerde.com, but also link in with me.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Kellie, thank you so much for your time talking us through all of this. Such a fascinating story, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.